Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Hi, everyone. Say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Have a good holiday.
Yeah, very good.
Council,
Yeah,
just a note, we are streaming at this point. So Mayor Allen, you may start the meeting when you're ready.
Okay. Can I have a mover and seconder to call the meeting to order, please? Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Maude Chapman, that the special meeting of the Council of Township of Springwater of January 19, 2022 come to order at 4:30 p.m. All those in favor? It's carried. Due to COVID-19, Council is taking the necessary steps to limit in-person meetings, so we continue to have our meetings via Zoom, where Council and staff and presenters attend virtually. You can watch the meeting live on the Springwater website at www.springwater.ca. You can listen to the meeting live from a telephone or a cellular device, calling 647-558-0588 and using the ID 874-0397-2895 and the pound sign. This is available during the meeting, and for those who want to watch the live streaming afterward, you can watch the video on the Township's YouTube channel. Council, are there any disclosure of pecuniary interests? Seeing none, we have a presentation from Megan Callahan, Vice President, Public Sector National Practice Leader of BFL Canada. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for having me. I'm just going to share my screen. Is everyone able to see the presentation?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
My name is Megan Callahan. I'm the Vice President, National Practice Leader for Public Sector at BFL Canada. We are a Canadian insurance brokerage, and we work with Ontario municipalities on their insurance and risk program. Your senior staff asked that I present today to give a high-level overview of the insurance marketplace and the importance of risk management and loss control in order for a municipality to better control, mitigate, and sometimes eliminate risk and the costs of risk. We're going to talk a little bit about the insurance market and the cycles with which the insurance market goes through. And the insurance market is currently experiencing an extended hard market. I'm going to scroll past this one diagram to the bottom of the page and then come back up to this timeline. So the insurance market goes through hard market and soft market cycles. We are currently in a hard market coming off an extended soft market period. And I thought it would be beneficial to give a high-level overview of what are the attributes to the two different market cycles. So in a hard market cycle, insurers, so insurance companies, are focused on profitability and bottom line results. They're interested in their bottom line, not their top line. We see insurers shrinking their capacity. So when we say reduced capacity, it means that there are not as many insurers willing to offer as many insurance products to a wide range of businesses. We see insurers focusing on charging premium commensurate with the risk. They take a hard look at deductibles, and 9 times out of 10, that means a deductible increase. There are reduced coverage offerings, which means that perhaps there aren't as many wide-ranging endorsements offered or even certain types of policies offered. And insurers take a very disciplined approach to underwriting. In a soft market, it's basically the opposite. Insurers are focused on top line growth. They want to be aggressive in their market share. There's extensive capacity. Insurers are willing to write a lot of different types of businesses and offer a wide range of coverages. Premiums are competitive. There tend to be lower deductibles. There are broad product offerings. There's a lot of creativity in that market. And there are flexible underwriting requirements and parameters. If I scroll back up to the timeline, you can see this is a very short snapshot. You know, basically over the last 100 years, we've seen approximately 4 hard market cycles. The one that we're currently in is the most recent one. The one before that was 2001, and it was a short hard market. And that market cycle was triggered by the terrorist attacks on 9/11. And then in 2002, 2019, very long stretch, we saw a soft market, right? Again, that the competitive offerings, low premiums, low deductibles. 2019, we started to see the market move into a correction mode, into transitioning into the hard market. And 2020, the hard market arrived with vengeance. It was here in 2021, now into 2022. The hard market is still here, but we're seeing it a bit more nuanced. So in 2021, there was a broad brush applied to all types of classes of business. So if you were a manufacturer, a retailer, a municipality, a food processor, the rates were rising for everyone. In 2022, we're seeing rates are still rising and there's still some challenges, but insurers are really digging down now into the nuance of an individual risk, seeing the class of business that it is in. So what are the trends, the claim trends that happen in that class of business? What are the costs of claims in that class of business? And then they drill down even further to understand the individual account and the individual risk. What is the individual risk's loss history? What kind of buildings are we insuring? What type of vehicles are we insuring, et cetera? So 2022 is still a hard market, but again, we're seeing some instances where underwriters are willing to be creative, to take a nuanced approach and not necessarily strike a broad brush against everyone. What makes this hard market different from previous market cycles? You know, previous hard market cycle were characterized by insurers, underwriters, taking a blanket approach to premium and deductible increases. So prior to this hard market cycle, insurers didn't necessarily use the tool of, we are now exiting certain classes of business, carte blanche. In this market cycle, we did see insurers say, we have various tools with which we can improve our profitability, right? Hard market, they're looking at their bottom line results and their profitability. They have a toolkit with which to do that, to achieve those results. Increase premiums, increase deductibles, targeted risk management and loss control. And they also have what we would call the nuclear option, which is exiting completely from a certain class of business. So they've reviewed that type of risk, and they've decided that it's just too high risk for them. They've seen too many claims. They don't necessarily have the expertise, and they've decided to exit that class completely. Improved data and analytics are playing a massive role in this hard market, and that's with any type of business, right? The more data, big data is driving businesses, and the insurers are businesses, driving business results and strategies. As I just previously said, current hard market cycle has been marked by increased premiums, increased deductibles, and limited capacity. So how is the hard market affecting municipalities? Insurer underwriting discipline is key. It's paramount. We've seen it over the last 2 years. Insurers are applying rigorous discipline when underwriting municipal risks. Previously, insurers would look at a 5-year loss history. Now they're looking at 10 years plus that big data and the analytics portion. They understand that 5 years just isn't enough to understand how an individual account performs. What type of claims do you see for that risk? They're reviewing your municipality's operations. What are you responsible for? What are your core services? Do you have a wastewater treatment plant? Do you plow roads? Do you have police services? Do you have ambulance services? They review the location of your buildings, your contents and equipment. Are you in a flood zone, earthquake zone? What's your proximity to fire services? And I think, flood zone would be one of the top concerns for insurers in this current market cycle. We're seeing that we have storm systems, we have cat events that are not anymore, it's not 1 in 100 years, it's much more frequent than that, as we saw just recently out in BC. They're looking for fire protection. Do your buildings have alarms and sprinklers? They also look at probable maximum loss exposures, and that really does affect municipalities because you're a unique risk in the sense that you have buildings concentrated within your municipal boundaries. If you are a global company, you can have buildings in different cities, different towns, different countries around the world, whereas a municipality, you have a concentrated amount of buildings, equipment's contents in a certain area. So that way, if a catastrophic loss happens, it is likely that you would have several of your buildings affected at once, rather than, if you had a global firm and, Canada has floods, but the buildings in France are okay, it's that spread of risk. I've underlined, what is your municipality's risk management and loss mitigation philosophy? Really trying to understand the proactive nature of addressing risk and seeing how best we can mitigate or eliminate certain risk exposures, loss or claim exposures. Premium and deductibles, we are seeing that insurers are charging premium commensurate with the risk insured. And deductible reviews are happening every year, and it's really in relation to your populations, your operations, property values, vehicle fleet, and loss history. It's not just saying it's a much more nuanced approach in the sense that we have to understand if you have a population, let's say, of 50,000 people, a $5,000 deductible is not appropriate for the scale and size of your operations. So again, trying to strike the right balance of a strong deductible and then premium commensurate with the risk. The procurement process of municipal premiums, the tender process has historically been scored heavily towards price, and that has had an effect on how municipalities experience the hard and soft market cycle. Soft market, as we talked about, insurers are focused on that top line growth, market share. So a tender process creates that competitive bidding result, and we have low premiums and low deductibles. In a hard market, because the soft market drove premiums down, those high risk accounts are the most vulnerable to those market corrections where we start to see significant premium increases and deductible levels applied. And in a hard market, tender results vary depending on risk profile and your loss history. Before we can talk about what we can do together, because I know the previous two pages are a bit doom and gloom, I think just overall from an overall market, not just municipal, but an overall insurance market cycle, is that insurers are still trying to figure out what does the future look like, right? We see from a property perspective that year over year, insurers are paying catastrophic loss claims, whether it was the Fort McMurray wildfire, there's hail in Calgary, there are the floods in BC, there are forest fires all up and down the western coast of both the US and Canada. We saw in Europe the floods in Germany. So property insurers really are having to get their arms around what climate change is doing to our environment and how that's affecting losses. As we said, the storms or catastrophic events that were 1 in 100 years are now we're seeing, basically 1 in 10, 1 in 25. So it's a very different calculation for insurers when they're thinking about, what are accurate property rates to charge. We're seeing cyber insurers, if there's cyber claims, for the last 12 to 18 months, I don't think we could open a newspaper or look at a TV network news station and not hear about cyber claims, so that there's pressure around those types of claims. From a municipal specific perspective, liability claims have a long tail, and that means that really a claim that happens in any given policy year, so we'll use 2020, let's say, a claim is reported in 2020. We don't know until several years later what that claim actually looks like, because it has to take the claims reported, you have to investigate, we have to decide if we're going to go into discoveries, we have to decide and investigate what if any liability needs to be a proportion to the municipality. And so that's another factor affecting liability claims. So there's lots of different moving pieces right now. And I know it's a bit like nailing Jello to the wall when we talk about all of these different factors. And that for 2022, big question mark, I would say, again, we are still in a hard market, but we are taking a nuanced approach, and we want to help our municipal clients work together so we can improve your risk profile, and that someone like Springwater can achieve best results from the market, regardless of if it's soft or hard. And so that comes with a strong risk management plan. And this little diagram here, municipal risk management, our little pie chart, is historically, we've always looked at municipal insurance as being the whole pie, right? So, and then risk management is a slice. It's actually the inverse, right? So you have your risk management plan, and that plan comes with loss control, risk financing, which is the insurance, and that's a slice. You have risk transfer through your contracts, when you secure third parties to do operations for your municipality. And then there's that claims management, to proactively manage claims, stay on top of them, ensure that we don't let them run for an unnatural length of time. We make sure that we stay on top of them and close them in a fair and fast manner. So improving your municipality's overall risk profile, results in the following: reduction of under-deductible claim costs, a strong legal case when defending third-party claims made against the municipality. It reduces costs for losses not covered under an insurance program. And then you obtain those best premium and coverage results from the insurance marketplace in both the hard and soft markets. So BFL has submitted a suggested risk management plan to senior staff at the township, and we're looking forward to working with them, engaging with your staff to ensure that we're implementing strong risk management and loss control measures to achieve those results that I've just outlined. So that was a high-level overview. I'm available for questions if you want me to scroll back to a certain page, or if there's additional questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you for the presentation. If you could just close the presentation down a bit so I could see the participants, please. Can I have a mover and seconder to get discussion on the floor, please? Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Ma Chapman. Okay, Council, questions, comments? Deputy Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you, Marilyn. And through you, I do have two questions. The first would pertain to joint and several liability, and just in your opinion, how that's affecting the municipality today and what we could potentially do to deter such.
Ms. Callahan.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. Joint and several is definitely an issue. We know that AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, is lobbying the provincial government in order for them to take a look at it. And I believe AMO has just sent out in the last 4 days another email around, getting data together to present a compelling case to the provincial government. I think it's very important that we address joint and several liability, but it's only one factor in regards to, how when we're talking about municipal liability insurance premiums, it's only one factor in how the premiums are ascertained. It's important for us to address joint and several. It's great that we have an AMO advocating. Unfortunately, I think it's not necessarily going to be the silver bullet that everyone hopes it is. It will be, as I say, very important to address. It's one of the driving factors in the increasing cost of claims for municipal clients, but it's only one factor.
Follow
Thank
on?
you. It's actually not a follow-on, so if any members of council do have that, I can wait for my second question.
Ms. Callahan, the hard versus the soft, do you ever see the industry getting back to a soft environment? It sounds like what the distinction is they're just doing their job better than they used to. There's more attention to detail, there's more discipline. So it's the industry has gotten their act together. Do you ever see it changing back to, quote, soft environment?
Thank you for the question, Mayor Allen. If I start to smile, I have to say that's one of the best questions I've ever received in the 12 years that I've been doing this. I would say that I don't believe it's going to return the way it was over the last decade, because they do have the better data analytics. Insurers are not able to rely on, particularly currently, the interest that they were able to gain off their investments. That's what allowed the last 15 years soft market to go on so long, is that investment dividends offset underwriting losses. And as long as we see interest rates stay low, investment yields stay low, we are going to see a hard market. And then in turn, the data analytics is going to inform going forward that it really is going to have better underwriting rigor around the process, that they're going to want to see better data, bigger data. And so I believe that we're not necessarily going to stay in this rigid environment for forever, but I don't think it's going to return to the really soft market conditions we saw over the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay. CEO Schmidt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just maybe further to some of the comments made around joint and several liability, to Ms. Callahan's comments, again, she's correct. AMO is advocating, or is trying to advocate on behalf of municipalities. And there is actually an email, or was an email circulated recently about a resolution. It's kind of a blanket resolution that AMO is seeking support from municipalities on. So it is something that council may want to consider either supporting that resolution and or amending a resolution that's more specific to Springwater. Again, to Ms. Callahan's comments, it's not the end all be all, it's not the silver bullet, but it is one piece of the puzzle that does need to be resolved, or at least push the province to try to make some changes in that area. Obviously, property insurance and automobile insurance and all those things play parts of our premium as well. But joint and several, again, is something that's in front of the province right now. And again, something that maybe council may want to consider as it relates to a resolution and supporting such.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Marilyn. It is my intent to bring forward a notice of motion at our next meeting of council. as part of our agenda so that the rest of council does have an opportunity to review that. I do have another question pertaining to commission and our premium, and just through you to Ms. Callahan, is there a specific percentage increase that we can look to anticipate, or there was a significant increase year over prior? So I'm just curious how that came about.
Ms. Callahan?
Yeah, sorry, Deputy Mayor, are you looking to see what we can expect in 2022 and the recap of 2021?
That would be wonderful.
Okay, great. So 2021, we saw significant increases all across Ontario. And that was really just driven strictly by hard market and insurers doing that big data review and say broad brush that all municipalities need an increase. We're seeing increased liability claims, property losses are at an all-time high, so property rates need to go up, deductibles need to be looked at, auto losses continue. So that was really in conjunction with Springwater's loss history, that broad brush was applied because every market that insured municipalities needed to get into a healthy space to ensure stable and sustainable options going forward. In 2022, I think specifically for Springwater, we're going to be able to see a more nuanced approach. I do not anticipate as high of an increase this year. We just came out of our major renewal period. About 60 to 70% of Ontario municipalities renew December 31st, January 1st. So it gives us a good idea of where we're heading into the new year. And we saw on average, increases between 8% and 20%. Some municipalities were lower, some were higher. If they were higher, it was because significant loss history, significant loss deterioration over the last 12 months. And that means that we saw claims increase significantly over the last 12 months. And they just did not have a deductible level that's appropriate for loss history, population, and operational side. We had some municipalities below the 8% because they had a good loss history and strategically chose to move their deductible higher than what they had in the past. Now that's a bit of a complicated move, and you have to make sure you do your due diligence because a higher deductible means that you need to have the internal staffing to be able to handle the claims within that higher deductible. So we always want to make sure that we have discussions ahead of time to really understand, does that premium, that deductible increase and premium lowering, does that put an additional burden on the municipality and create costs elsewhere, right? So we just need to have those kinds of discussions. I think for Springwater, that's why we're starting these conversations this far out. It's April 1 is the renewal. And so we are starting the conversations with the insurers now. Insurers usually look at risks 90 to 120 days out from renewal because they feel that's a good time where losses are current, right? They need to have losses that sort of really accurately reflect what's happened over the last 12 months. And so we'll definitely be in a better position in about 30 days to get a real premium indication. But I am confident that we're going to be able to be on the lower end of that range for Springwater than in the upper higher towards 20%.
Ms. Callahan, you referred to working with staff on our overall risk profile. Can you touch on more specifics of what that involves and what the hoped outcome is?
Yeah, so we have at BFL, we have a dedicated risk manager, a risk management leader, and her name is Robin McLeave. And she has extensive municipal experience, and she's 100% dedicated to our municipal clients to facilitate and implement risk management and loss control strategies. So in that, it suggested it's actually a 2 to 3 year plan, because every municipality is in a different leg of their risk management journey. right? So some are just starting, some are well on their way. A municipality of your size tend not to have dedicated risk managers, where some of the larger municipalities in the GTA, right, with larger budgets have those dedicated risk managers on staff. And so, a municipality like Springwater, we're looking to have Robin come in and add that value and try and be that staff member for you. When we put those plans in place, we do a couple of things. One, we benchmark your municipality against other municipalities of your size to understand what kind of losses happen, even if it's not on your individual loss history, sort of what's happening and what can we do to be proactive and even prevent issues before they happen. We look at your individual loss history. And then we also look at your strategies and objectives that your municipality wants to achieve over the next 2 to 3 years. And we view all of those items and then create that plan. So that plan is in the hands of staff so that now we can start talking about it. It was just delivered at the beginning of this year. And we're looking at, particularly, for example, motor vehicle accidents. So we're looking at public works policies and procedures. Are we looking at making sure we review contracts so that we're properly transferring the risk so it's not coming back onto the township? Looking at the implementations of waivers. So all of those things, driver training is another key one for under your auto policy. So I think that senior staff, once we've had a little bit of time to go through and cement this, we could come back and present to council so you can see sort of the nuts and bolts of what's been decided. So we take Robin's expertise and then we take your expertise, your staff's expertise who live it every day, and combine it together to create best results for the municipality.
That's good. That sounds very useful. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, council? Well, thank you for the presentation and the discussion. That's been helpful. We'll look forward to that next step you just described, hopefully in advance of being faced with a report that says we have this X percentage increase in this next year. So the more we can be educated, the better it is. Thank you again. Can I have a mover and seconder to receive the insurance marketplace and importance of risk management culture presentation? Councillor Cabral, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the presentation from Megan Callahan, Vice President, Public Sector National Practice Leader, BFL Canada, regarding insurance marketplace and the importance of risk management culture be received. All those in favor? That is carried. Mover and seconder for the confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Moore, Councillor Ma Chapman, that bylaw 2022-007 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the special meeting January 19, 2022 listed herein be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? Carried. And motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Cabral, Councillor Moore, that the special meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 5:03 p.m. to meet again January 19th, 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you again, Ms. Callahan, and we will see you at another time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.